so much power.
Power. What was it from Jafar from Aladdin? It's like
Unlimited
cosmic
power.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
All right. Welcome to Blanky Time.
Blanky Time. We're
As
back.
you can see, we are not covered by the blankie. It is here in
It's here.
spirit.
Yeah, it's here.
Because it's pretty toasty today.
It's a little toasty. We record in a bit of a warehouse / office space, and today I decided it wanted to be like 100 degrees outside, so
Yeah.
we're here. The
Yeah.
Blanky's here.
And people have been wanting the dirty beans more than ever.
They have.
Even
It's
with the
been,
weather getting hot, they want to
I
get
know,
them
man, they wanna get
roasty
the-
toasties.
What can I say? It's
Wheeling
that
and
good.
dealing. It's that good.
It's that good.
Yeah. And you're getting ready for your hiatus.
Oh yeah, I am. Yeah, we're heading out of town for a week.
That'll be dope.
Yeah, man.
That'll be dope.
Super excited.
Should I have a guest host for next week?
Hey, I think you should do it.
All right, I'll see if I can
bring on a guestie.
see if I a guestie,
Yeah.
a guestie bestie. I'll see
Yeah.
if I can make that happen.
Can we take a break real quick? Lock the door, because I just got a text from someone who said they're gonna stop in.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna text them back real quick and,
Yeah.
and tell them it's a no go.
We'll keep her rolling, son. Keep her rolling all day long. So are y'all coming over tonight?
I need to talk to Aaron and make sure.
Okay.
I think we are, but it depends on childcare. We may or may not be able to, because my father-in-law is going somewhere.
Oh,
He's going
Yeah, I
to a
don't know.
concert tonight.
a concert. Nice. If you could pull your mic a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
I'll
closer
bring it
to
in,
your
I'll bring it
mouth,
in. I'll bring it in.
that would be
There we go. How was that?
epic. Yes.
How could you? All right. Sorry about that. I'm back now.
You are back.
We're back. Oh man. Blanky time.
Blanky time.
So sorry, work calls. People want the dirty beans.
The dirty bean business is
yeah, man.
never-ending
It's
business.
booming. It's booming, man.
Yeah.
What about you? How's the oak nut business?
Oak nut business is going pretty good. I'm taking a slight pause, or just a shift in kind of what I'm working on to do a thing for my dad's company. I'm doing some grading
Ooh,
And-
that's fun.
stuff for him. So basically, I run an excavator all day and move dirt.
That sounds like
So
a great
exhilarating.
job. Yeah, it's exhausting. My girls would love it though. They're like obsessed with the construction vehicles right now at this age.
Yeah.
So their
Tonka.
favorite book is the
Big
little,
old dump
little
truck.
excavator.
Little excavator?
Yeah,
I didn't know
they're-
that was
Yeah, it's a great book. We read it a couple times a day since Nora was probably 1. So it's been
A couple times a day?
yeah for the last 2 years. So
That's dope.
it's a good book though. I could probably recite it.
Yeah?
But-
I mean, if you're reading it a couple times a day, it's
Yeah, it's ingrained in my
ingrained in
memory.
your DNA.
Yeah.
You just need to get like a tattoo now of a little excavator.
Actually my next one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does it have googly eyes on it?
It does.
Yeah, that's dope.
Googly eyes. the
It's like a new
excavator.
school tattoo, but of an excavator.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be hot.
Yeah.
Well, what's the topic today, man? I'm excited to dive in.
The topic is things that we think will make the world / America
Okay.
better. There's a lot of things out there about, what will make the world better or America better, like the quote unquote zero carbon emissions type thing and all that jazz. And some of the intent behind it is right, but the way they're trying to achieve it, I don't think is fruitful at all.
Right.
So
Are you talking about specifically the zero waste emissions right now?
I mean, that's the one I have the biggest gripe with.
Aren't they like mining like crazy amounts in slave labor
Yeah,
to
there's a lot of
propel
cool
the electric car industry?
yeah, a lot of cool coal powered cars out nowadays.
Yeah.
Um,
No, they're mining like
oh,
is
like
it
the rare earth
lithium or
metals
what?
and
You know,
stuff.
what is it that they power the Tesla with?
Yeah, well, like lithium, and there's a couple other rare earth metals,
Yeah.
and there's basically just like in Africa, women with children
On
strapped
their
to
back,
them,
yeah, and mining for
mining,
hours
digging
without
in
getting
dirt.
paid.
Yeah,
It's terrible. It's terrible.
which
What?
that I mean that goes hand in hand with the electronics industry as well. Like
Yeah.
Apple's notorious for having like really sketchy ties to
Right. That makes sense.
sketchy uh, rare earth metal mining operations.
I guess like there's good and bad with every idea though, right? Like everything comes with a cost, and as long as the majority of people don't find out what the cost is, then they can make a buck on it. And
Ignorance is bliss,
you know,
baby.
not to say that gas powered vehicles are any better for the world, but we'll see.
Yes. So
Yeah, you want to kick us off then? I'm
yeah,
very excited to
I have a
hear.
lot of opinions on like surrounding the car industry stuff as
Okay.
well as like energy production
Yeah.
as is.
Okay.
So um, the first thing starting off, we need to really be focusing on nuclear
Yeah.
energy
Okay.
production, just because like everybody's idea of what nuclear is like Chernobyl or what was the one in Japan?
Hiroshima.
No,
When we
that they
bombed them.
got nuked, not nuclear nuclear fallout.
That's terrible.
Um,
I don't know. I remember talking about like the meltdown. I
yeah,
can't remember
they
the
had a
name of it.
meltdown as well. Anyways, those happened in like the 50s through 70s,
Right.
right? Okay. And you think about the technology that they had at that time, and they were still doing nuclear pretty well then.
Mhm.
And you compare it to how much technology has advanced, and you apply that new found technology to nuclear, you can have a way more efficient system with way better fail safes.
Right.
So it's basically like people who are like, nuclear's bad. What if there's a fallout and everybody gets cancer? Like,
Mm.
it's like looking at cars today and only comparing them to like 50s cars,
Right.
right? And talking about like the performance and how bad the steering is. And yeah, if you crash into somebody, your car's not going to be as crunched up, but you're probably going to have TBIs and there's no seat belts. Like how can you build a nuclear facility when there's not going to be any seat belts? It's like, well, there's definitely going to be seat belts
Right.
because we have new um, protocols for what safety are, and that goes hand in hand with you know uh, technology.
Mhm.
And so if that's applied right, it would create energy that is more affordable and more sustainable, because basically the amount of waste produced, I'm pretty sure. Now, listen. Okay, wait.
Let's
All these
preface this.
things that
We are not
I'm
experts.
saying, I am not an expert. This is only my Jello brain trying to recall certain stats and things like that. So I might make some broad statements. All right.
Right.
But basically, the waste produced by nuclear energy is easier to contain and is a fraction of what the waste is from other energy productions in the world. Because since electric cars have started becoming a really big thing, um, there's been places have to either reopen or boost their coal burning production,
Mhm.
which, as we know, burning coal puts a lot of carbon into
Into
the
the atmosphere.
atmosphere,
Right.
right? And so really, you're just driving around in like a really cool coal powered car,
Yeah.
unless you have a really good solar solar energy system on your home and you only charge at your house. Then you are not um, taking part in the coal energy uh, Hudenheisen.
Okay.
the circular nature of all that, right?
So how do we tap into this nuclear energy? Is the question. How do we
Get it
how do we
started.
how do we rightly apply it?
Get rid of all the boomers that are in the government, because they don't. Just look at them talk about TikTok. Okay, there was that big TikTok congressional hearing, right, where there was,
Didn't they ban it in Montana? Like it's completely banned. I
I
don't
don't
think.
know. I think Montana also banned people who are quote unquote vaccinated from being able to give blood too.
Yeah, Montana.
They're laying
Montana
down the
is
law,
not. It's
son.
not playing. They're. Yeah.
It might have been it was one of those states over there somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, basically at this TikTok congressional hearing, there was all these Congress people questioning this spokesperson for TikTok
Mm-hmm.
from China, and you can just look up all the compilations of them asking the most ridiculous questions. Um, like it's so hard to explain because the questions were so dumb, and it's
Right.
like if this is their understanding of what just social media is, what is their actual understanding of nuclear and where it's at currently?
Right.
You
Is
know what
the
I'm saying?
TikTok thing about China though? Right. I mean, I think that's
Yeah,
the
it's like the
majority of
spyware
it. Is they
stuff
think
and
they're
whatnot.
China's spying on us and.
But if you look on TikTok and you search up like one of them, there was like a really big protest going on in France recently, as there is a lot of times for stuff. But all social media platforms except TikTok, if you looked it up, if you just looked up France, right,
Yeah.
it would only pop up, these like pretty pictures of people in Paris or, whatever. But if you looked it up on TikTok, it actually showed what currently was going on and it wasn't
Gotcha.
getting suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only thing that really gets suppressed on, I mean, there's stuff that's like shadow banned on TikTok. I mean, shadow banning's everywhere on
Right.
social media. Like
Right.
I'm kind of shadow banned on TikTok for my Oaknut page because I've had 2 videos taken down for weapons, even though it's been 3D printed fake guns for doing wet molding
Right.
on, you know.
Yikes.
And I've tried to appeal it, but it didn't work. So they're like, if you get 2 videos banned, that kind of kills your account already.
Yeah.
Uh,
Dang. Okay.
but the thing I'm trying, basically back to the energy stuff is like, how many of these people that are, leading and running the country actually understand nuclear and where it's at? Because they talk about solar all the time,
Right.
but solar isn't as foolproof as nuclear is.
Why is that?
Because with solar, you have to clear forestation
Right.
and plants in
Okay.
order to build a solar field,
Yeah.
which then by doing that, you're releasing more carbon into the atmosphere because something's got to happen to those plants that you destroyed. You're also killing little baby bunny homes.
So sad.
Um,
Mm.
but then because of the reflective nature of the solar panels, it does something where it like uh I don't know, it heats stuff up,
Right.
right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
actually it's kind of funny. Solar's like one of the most dangerous jobs right now because people installing it on like roofs of stuff are like falling off. So
Yikes. What
that's it.
about what about lunar power?
Lunar
When
power?
are we gonna tap into that?
Like put solar panels all over the moon?
No. Why don't we absorb the moon's reflective light from the sun? Would that still be classified as solar?
Yeah, it's just reflecting the sun onto
Still, that we
stuff.
could we could, you know,
Turn the moon into a
turn the
solar
moon
panel.
into a solar panel,
That'd be dope.
and then somehow I don't know what that would do to our oceans. It would probably do something. Um,
I
just
mean, you're
trying to
just
think out of
adding
the box
mass.
here. Yeah.
You're adding mass, so the tides would be more intense.
Yikes.
That's not that bad.
It's intense enough with erosion.
Yeah.
So okay, so your solution, nuclear energy. We tap into it, and it powers our cars. What about our homes?
It also powers your homes. It's just the grid stays the same. Now the grid does need to be fortified,
Yeah.
and also the grid, at least to my understanding, needs to be freaking buried. if you go to like I think San Francisco's notorious for having a terrible electrical grid
Mm.
because they've basically just sort of piled on top of like the same grid they've had since the 20s,
Oh man,
and everything's
that's not
jank.
effective.
Like if
Yeah.
you or like in comparison, if you look at like pictures of cities in India and stuff, there's electric cables spider webbing everywhere.
Yeah.
And so all of that needs to be reconsolidated and put in the ground because that insulates the electrical wires from extreme freezing and extreme heat, which, as you know, extreme heat and freezing have really bad effects on materials, specifically metals and plastics.
Right.
That's why when you look at the big old cables on the poles,
Yes. Yes.
electrical lines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what
you
you're
know,
talking about. Yeah.
there's sway in there because they have to take into account expansion and contraction
Mm-hmm. Because of the heat. Are those
because of the heat and the
rubber, or
freezing.
is that
Yeah, they have like a
like a rubber
plastic
coating or
on the
plastic coating?
outside. But still, in a lot of places, it gets so cold that the lines break easy, or you have a tree. Like something notorious here is pine trees during like a ice storm or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They'll the
Mm-hmm.
words.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean.
They'll collect a lot of. My brain just has to like control alt
Reboot.
delete reset every
It's
now and
very
then.
like Elon Musk, just watching you go through it. You know how his eyes just go back and forth when he's thinking.
Yeah,
Or
basically,
computing.
it's a touch of the tism
That's
that I got probably.
Maybe.
Um,
Don't we all?
anywho,
Don't we all?
yeah, don't we all? The pine trees, the ends get frozen because they still got the needles on there, and then the branches break off and break the power lines. But if they were buried underground, 6 foot or whatever, not a problem.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you, and I'm on board if it can be done.
Yeah.
I definitely think something needs to happen as far as like our energy. Um, I mean, not to get on a soapbox, but we're kind of wrecking the planet a little bit, and we have, significantly since the Industrial Revolution. But a lot of that is because we didn't know the result of our progress, So I think now there's a lot of creative ways to find solutions for problems that we have. So, I mean, is there anyone that's doing this with nuclear energy? Is there any pioneers or anyone that's even talking about this?
I mean, from what I think I remember reading last, there's still nuclear plants around. The problem is the government has imposed so many lines of red tape that you got to get through in order to get it started
Okay.
that it's not very practical to do it because they've basically added all this stuff on the outside, kind of like the Jews did with the law,
Right.
to where it's so hard to break the law. Same thing happened, I'm pretty sure, with like nuclear industry, so that way it's very, very difficult to create new nuclear plants or even privately owned ones.
Right.
Most energy companies are privately owned.
Right.
That's the thing that's like cool with electric cars is it's this new avenue of vehicle that hasn't really been monopolized.
Monopolized? That one.
Yeah,
That's
monopolized.
the word.
And so there's all these really cool companies popping up making electric vehicles or toys or whatever.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And that's all because nobody had the forethought to put red lines on that, which can bite you in the butt, but it can also really help you out. Like you end up with a bunch of cool electric vehicles and stuff. Where it bites you in the butt is like AI, where
when they take over those vehicles and destroy humanity.
They haven't put any red lines on it really, and it's now kind of past.
It's past that point.
Past the point in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think with AI, like, I mean, no one's asking the questions. Should we do this? It's already past that point. Everyone's like, oh, well, is this even possible? Can we do this? And then now AI is so progressed when we finally are, there's a few people that are like, okay, maybe should we do this? What are the ramifications if we go through with this? And I just think it's gonna end up biting us one day. I mean, I'm not,
Robot
saying that,
girlfriends.
they become sentient and wipe us all out, but I am saying that it's gonna definitely. I mean, it's already changing the world, but for the better, I'm not convinced. I'm definitely not convinced. It's definitely making our job easier, in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, and I've tried to incorporate it into the business, and it helps me write great emails, and if I need artwork, I mean, it's good at all that, but now it's getting to the point where like, man, I could just like record a song with anyone's voice, an original song, and like you would not be able to tell the difference. And that's just
Drake
the
AI.
the beta testing. It's not even
Yeah.
like as good as it's going to be.
You're not going to be able to. I mean, you should already not be trusting any images out there at
Or
all.
yeah, any images. I mean, any even like a recording
Yeah.
now.
I think
Like you
someone
can't
made like
trust.
a fake CNN blurb, like look like a screenshot of something, and it blew up, and people were like freaking out, and someone just made it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like what was it in the when the dude read, I think it was the 20s or 30s. He was reading War of
Oh,
the Worlds,
yeah, attack. Yeah,
War of
yeah,
the
that
World,
one. People thought it
and
was
people
real.
the broadcast ended earlier, so everyone switched their radios to that station mid broadcast. And then he's like, aliens just landed in New York, and he's just reading it more in like a theatrical way. Everyone lost their mind.
People
I
killed
think that's like,
themselves because of that.
I know, and it's
There's like
crazy. Like,
suicides across the U.S.
how is that going to like?
because of that.
I mean, I definitely see like where this could potentially lead to that.
Yeah.
That's something I don't think is necessarily. I mean, you have like Google CEOs quitting. You have like people, resigning because they're like, hey, we had no one's pumped the brakes. Like even Elon Musk is like, hey, can we just pause for like a couple months until we can catch up with this? But I mean, it's not gonna happen.
The
So
train keeps a rolling.
yeah, it just keeps on going, man. It's like,
Toot, toot.
dun 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 dun.
Bom, dun,
But
dun, dun, dun.
again, with the AI, I just think who knows what's gonna happen. Did you ever see the deep fake about with it was Back to the Future, but it was Tom Holland and Robert Downey, and
Uh-uh.
this is probably a year to maybe 2 years ago,
Oh
and it
yeah,
was
that's when it was first.
so realistic. Like I mean, you could tell something was off with the faces, but it's at the point now where you could redo that and not be able to tell.
There's that
Like,
guy that was doing Tom Cruise for a while.
oh, for real?
Yeah, like look deep faked and looked exactly like Tom Cruise.
Wow.
And yeah, it was people thought it was him doing like this prank channel basically.
Yeah.
Um
Oh, right. And there was something
I
else.
think he got hired by Disney to
What was that?
I heard a beep.
Big
I
beat.
think he got hired by Disney to help with their deepfake program because they use some of that technology in the de-aging of characters
Right.
in the different Disney show or Star Wars shows and stuff. But what is something that like you think that's like a definitive thing that will help the world and America?
Yeah, I mean,
Something kind of like a physical thing, like nuclear is, and things like that.
I was thinking more along like the hunger thing, the hunger spectrum. Like there's a
Okay.
lot of hungry people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have a solution, but I just think that there's enough resources even in America to make hunger like an improbability. Um just like between jackfruit trees, for example, like
Jackfruit. Okay.
super hardy trees. You can grow them in even some of the most desolate places. Like,
They can grow here.
I don't know if they can grow in America, but globally, like, let me look that up actually too.
I
If,
got you. You can keep
yeah,
going.
I mean, just for example, that's just an example. But you finding foods like foods that last for a long time, rice, flour, airtight containers, instead of like me see. What does it say?
Cali.
Yeah, so it's more of like a tropical. Um, um, so sorry, my wife. I need to text her real quick. We'll take a 5 second.
You're making my job hard,
I
Matt.
know. I'm sorry, man. So this is an different recording time, and so it's throwing off my whole schedule.
Sorry.
Um,
We said at the same time. Yeah, so
Jinx.
jackfruit can grow in California. You think that's the solution?
Yeah, I mean, I think jackfruit is just one option.
Just
Like finding foods that can grow in even the most desolate places. And the problem is, like, even some like a lot of it has to do with chronically malnourished children and women, like mothers and children. So like Guatemala, for example, is a rainforest, man. Like there's fruit everywhere, there's food everywhere, but for whatever reason, like with poverty and hunger is like crazy. 4 out of 5 children are chronically malnourished, which I mean, there's no coming back from that. Chronically malnourished means it affects you cognitively.
and that's why they're
So
smaller too.
they're smaller, they don't do as well in school, and it just exacerbates the problem of poverty. And so, like, trying to think creatively, and there's a lot of organizations doing this, but it seems like there's just been a lot of talk and very little, like, action. People are taking food bags and they're doing whatever, all these different things, but there's no permanent solutions. And not that I have one. Again, I just think that's something that should really be at our forefront of our minds, because even in America, there's a lot of hungry people. We waste a ton of food. Like,
Or the farmers are forced to throw it out
forced to throw it out and because
because
of
of,
defects and things like that.
well, not
and,
even that. Did you ever see like the milk or corn videos?
Mm-mm.
So this is terrible. Basically, the government was paying farmers to dump their project to dump their product in order to quote unquote stabilize the cost or like
Wow.
whatever. So
Wow.
there's videos of farmers with like waste oil tankers just like pouring it out over cornfields, or dairy farmers just dumping perfectly good milk. He's like, yeah, all this milk coming out of this pipe going into the drain's perfectly fine. He like fills up a glass and drinks it. And he's like, it
Wow.
breaks my heart to do this, but they're paying me to do it, and if I don't do it, I'm going to be like legally held to something,
Right.
which is insane.
Yeah, I've heard about I mean, just the amount of waste, like, even in the fast food, like not just with farmers, but like grocery stores pulling fruit because of small things, and it goes straight in the trash. Um, there's a company in Australia, and I saw this on like a Netflix documentary, but Australia really is ahead of the curve, man. They're like farming mushrooms and like using like a lot of mushrooms like in their
Bugs?
I'm sure they're getting there with the
Getting
bugs
in the
too.
bug industry?
But
Oh, yeah.
like even houses that are like self-sustaining, where it's all the food is growing. There's a restaurant that literally grows all the food on the restaurant, like on the building.
That's dope.
Solar powered, like um there's a rain catchment tank, so all the water is like, but I mean there's definitely plenty of ways to be sustainable, but um just like farming, reducing food waste, even like teaching people in these countries how to farm and how to have opportunity. I mean, I feel like
Teach a man to fish.
teach a man to fish and you'll feed him forever, bro.
Yep.
So that's what, and instead of like, I'm not saying like handouts are bad by any means, because there's been plenty of times where I've needed them. But instead of like just giving, something to fix what you think is fixing the problem, it's not really fixing the problem. Just giving someone, oh, they're hungry, let's give them food. Well, that's great because
Yeah.
they do need that food, but they also need something sustainable, because what happens when you leave? They're gonna
Yeah.
be hungry again.
That happens in like specific areas in Africa all the time. Like they'll get used to, people bringing them like, beans, eggs, and porridge or whatever they're
Right.
giving them, and then they get used to that, and they stop doing everything else. And then some of those people had to pull out because of funding or whatever, and then now these tribes and specific areas are worse off than if they probably would have never been visited in the first place. And that's difficult. And that's why, like, it's
Mm.
important to set up some kind of sustainable thing. Like now it's a big thing to like set up some type of industry so that way that people group, can make money and better the community.
Right.
Like I think shea butter is a big thing. Like people are basically like supplying the equipment to be able to harvest shea butter,
Really? Okay.
and I think there was one company I saw that was specifically doing that, where they're going around to where these, the shea fruit trees are abundant,
Right.
and so they're giving them the material because otherwise they're basically having to pound it out by hand and like
Yeah.
roast it over like poop fires
Right.
and basically supplying them like more modern equipment to be able to produce it more efficiently and safely to kind of
Yeah.
help them out.
See, yeah, and I know it's a complicated issue. I know it's not like something that there's one solution to. I mean, for example, when I was in Zambia, like Lusaka is the capital city. There's a lot of money in Lusaka. Like, I mean, there's huge malls and soccer stadiums and like, you know, car dealerships and McDonald's and there's, everything that you would expect.
Mickey D's,
You know,
the Golden
it's
Arches,
also, man, I can't remember the name. Food? No, something
Pizza Hut.
Golden Lion. There is Pizza Hut. There's a lot of Pizza Huts. I had pizza like 4 times in 2 weeks there, but that's like that's another point. There's a cool chicken joint, but anyway, there's a lot of money in the city, but without even leaving Lusaka, like tucked away in the city that's bustling with money, and there's like compounds where like people can't like they're starving, like kids are running around naked, like man, I literally like saw like this kid who was very malnourished, like super tiny, um, running around, and he was like defecating on the ground as he was running, just playing soccer, and
That's a
like,
gangster move though, pooping and running at the same
bro, I
time.
mean, like, yeah,
He
I
he
don't know
he
if I
had
would do it.
practiced that.
He had to have, but he was
Yeah.
just running. I was like, oh, that kid,
That's
and then
called
he just,
defense.
yeah,
That's the ultimate form of defense
yeah, it was,
in soccer.
but like, just anyway, to say that it's just there's like poverty tucked away in these. Look at America, for example. All of the money that we could imagine, and yet there's people that can't eat. What's the what is the solution? It's not necessarily just giving them food. It's teaching them or creating opportunities for them to. I don't know, there was a good book like a few years ago. I read it. I mean, When Helping Hurts. I'm sure if you've done any type of like,
I think I've heard of it.
yeah, but it talks about like poverty is more than just like physical things. You have poverty of self. So like you don't understand your relationship with yourself, right? So you don't really have an identity. It's kind of tucked away in your circumstances. There's like a poverty of God, like you don't have your relationship with God is kind of out of whack, or you don't believe in Him, or whatever. Your relationship with the rest of the world or creation, or like your ability to take something and make something of it, like the creative mandate or whatever. And all of this results to like physical poverty, like the situation that you're in, and it just is a cycle unless you can figure out which of these four areas you're actually impoverished in. Well, why am I sitting in this situation? Is it because of my understanding of myself, or my relationship to the rest of the world, what the type of work I can do or give myself to, my relationship with God, what's contributing to this? And I just think, we have to do something that's going to treat the actual problem, not just the symptoms of the problem. And like I said, it's complicated. I don't have a solution, but
What can I say? It's complicated.
yeah, exactly.
That song.
I was thinking more of like, why'd you have to go and make things so complicated?
Oh yeah, that just sets
Yeah.
us apart, I guess. In there.
I grew up with
That's
Avril
good.
Lavigne,
Yeah.
so it's cool. Not like actually grew up with her. That would have been cool, but she was popular when I was growing up.
Yeah, but a
Um,
thing along the lines of the food stuff. One thing, even in this area that I've noticed that we live in, there is there are food banks with tons of food in them,
right.
and it people part of it is pickiness, and that's probably just a thing here.
Right.
Because
I'm
like
sure.
there's like good, nice bread, but because it's not sliced loaf bread, they won't take it,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and it's like that's kind of ridiculous. Like it gets to the point where the food banks have another dumpster bin for farmers to go to and get this food that's thrown out so they can feed it to their animals
Right.
because either people are too picky to get it or there's not enough education in the area for where the food banks are and how to access it,
Right.
because one of them is basically just like a full-blown grocery store
There's
that
one
all
right down the road from us, or from your house, every Monday or every other Monday.
yeah.
Like cars are backed up for miles,
Mm-hmm.
man, and they have like. I've been a part of helping, with some before. We got a few in the area in Cary, the
Yeah.
Interfaith Food Shuttle. It's just, yeah, I think knowledge and like knowing where they can get access to it is a big thing too.
And maybe that's a thing that those groups need to focus on. Well, never mind, I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, basically just getting the word out there and spreading like, hey, there is access to food that is just as good, as the grocery store, especially now with, inflation and,
Right.
all that garbage. And
Yeah.
basically, like, it can help, save you a couple bucks. Like, say you need some stuff from the grocery store, but you can get it from the food bank. And the other thing is, like, image here, too.
Yeah.
Like, people don't,
Pride
yeah,
plays into it a
yeah,
lot.
people don't want to be seen going into the food bank store, and it's like, you got to get rid of that. Listen, I've been dumpster diving since I was a child.
Right.
All
Yeah.
right.
Hey,
Ain't
man.
nothing wrong with dumpster diving, and going into an actual establishment where you're getting free food is not dumpster diving at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like again, this is kind of on the food tangent, but it also goes a little bit deeper into like just poverty in general. Like there was a study, well, not a study. A few years ago, there was an organization that went into a poor village in African country, and they transformed this entire community. They were sleeping. They had no homes, like like maybe thatch roofed houses and like lean-tos and
Bungalows.
bungalows, and but nothing like very nothing to keep the weather out. They built new homes in this entire community. Took thousands of dollars, probably more. Um, Came back a couple of weeks later to see the project, see how the families were liking their new homes. Everyone was still sleeping out in the weather under the stars. And
Gang, gang.
like the whole thing was like that was great. Yeah, they needed shelter, but they weren't ready to accept it because they like for them like it wasn't.
Hard enough.
It was hard enough. You're right. It was hard enough, and then like that wasn't the problem. That wasn't the problem. Wasn't that they necessarily needed shelter. There was something else going on, and that just the poverty mindset, I guess. But I don't know. Not to say that organizations that are trying and doing good should stop. I definitely think they should. But I think it really comes down to like government policies and procedures to really help the people at least here locally, but also globally. If there's something countries can get together on, it's like, especially Africa. I think Africa's the future, man. Like so much potential there. Obviously, brilliant minds there. Just if we could, sub-Saharan Africa is a desert. Like I think 4 out of the 5 poorest countries in the world suffering from hunger are like in Africa. So Zambia's up there with them, Central African Republic, Zimbabwe. It's just, yeah, we got to do something. I don't have a solution. Not to get all dark and heavy on you, but that's my take.
So, uh, so your thing with food is basically, bringing awareness to places that are helping with it, but then also saying like, we need to set up and teach people, quote unquote, how to fish in these
Right.
areas.
Yeah. There has to be something sustainable. Some measure of like. I mean, it's the same thing when you look at like missions work, right? Like, we as Americans can go into a place and do like these great things, but it's never going to be effective unless the local people are the ones that are leading the charge, right?
Set up aquaponic gardens.
I have that in my notes actually.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like having
yeah.
some
Because
sort of
then you're
like
growing fish and you're
right.
growing vegetables,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I think, yeah,
vegetables.
it's figuring out a solution to the problem, teaching them how to farm or how to like start businesses and provide income. Like there was a family in Guatemala that they lived a very long way from any type of civilization or town. There was like maybe a tienda in the area, but tiendas have like
I could buy some Coca Cola
bag of
every now and then.
Tortrix and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
But they had $4 every 2 weeks, and they would take that $4 and he would hike like as far as he could get the closest store, buy as many bags of chips and cokes
Coke.
and water as he could afford, and they would come back and they slept on a dirt floor with it was two teenagers, three girls like 10 to 12, and a newborn baby sleeping on a dirt floor in like a room smaller than this. Like it was like sobering, and
Why'd
that's
they live so far away?
they were living on someone else's land,
Ah.
and they're squatting basically. Like no, the
Uh-huh.
person didn't know they were there. Um, and so what we ended up doing with Transformando Vidas is going in. Helbert had a relationship with him. He's one of the guys who started that, and not only provided them with a better living situation, but like the guy ended up with like a job and was able to like bring in some money. Like their mom had died basically, and so his girlfriend had given birth, and he was responsible for like
All
three
these
three of his
kids.
sisters or
Dang.
whatever. And but now they're thriving, man. Like all the kids are in school.
Rolling in them Quetzals.
For real, yeah, for real. And there's organizations like Nutrilista, which is one of Grateful's sponsors, where they have a peanut butter supplement. I mean, you can eat it out of the packet, or you can put it on like an apple or like fruit. Kids love it,
Peanut
and it
butter jelly
completely
time.
closes the nutritional gap in their diet. So like you're talking about chronically malnourished kids or kids that are right on the verge of that. 4 out of 5 in Guatemala are like that. They come in and they completely close the gap just by having like a packet a day. It's in the tiendas. Our goal is to help them get it in every tienda in Guatemala. Um, and having kids, it was all designed by Mayan women who can't even read or write, but they designed the packaging to make it look appealing so that their kids at a tienda are going to see all these other unhealthy choices and know what that looks like and grab it. And companies like this that are trying to make an impact, and we're doing all we can
Yeah.
to help.
Which, speaking of companies that are helping people out,
Did you hear that?
sounds like an ad.
Uh-oh.
Bum, ba, bum. So Matt, I've been craving something lately. Something to get me going, get me energized.
Yeah.
Do you know of anything that can help me quench this craving?
Oh, I do. I do. Grateful Coffee.
Grateful coffee.
One of the cutting edge coffee companies right now in the U.S.
Cutting edge?
It's cutting edge. I don't really know what
That's
that
some
means,
sharp
but
coffee.
it's pretty sharp. Grateful Coffee. That's my company. We source coffees from all over the world, specifically Guatemala. I don't know what you're trying to tell me.
I'm handing it.
Oh yeah, anyway. Let me run that back. We source coffees from all over the world. We roast them in small batches. We deliver them directly to consumers. And what we do is we partner with nonprofits in Guatemala, and we give all the money away to these organizations that are helping people, changing lives. You heard a little bit about Transformando Vidas. They're a big partner. Nutrilista is one of our other partners, and La Mano de Dios is another one. So we are committed to changing people's lives through your generosity, which happens every time you buy a bag of Grateful Coffee. You can find out more at our social medias, grateful.coffee, on our website at grateful.coffee.
Oh yeah, the best
But
dirty beans.
anyway, Stone,
What?
there's another another business that is powering this podcast, and
And that is Oak Nut Workshop. Oak Nut Workshop is a workshop ran by me, a craftsman specializing in wood, metal, and leatherwork, mixing them all together, making very cool, epic, custom thingy-mabobs.
yeah.
So if you can imagine it and it's got a custom need for you, I will walk through the design process with you, figure out something that's going to suit your needs, and make it really cool. So check me out at oaknutworkshop.com or Oaknut Workshop on all social medias. That's OAKNUT Workshop.
Add out.
Rollin', 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 keep them doggies rollin', 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 rawhide. Rain and wind and weather, hell bent on leather.
You lost me. I don't know this one.
Get 'em up, move 'em up, hit 'em in. Ride 'em in rawhide. You never
Is
heard
that
that
a new Lil Jon song?
No.
Is
It's an
Little
old one.
John still even making music?
I don't know who
Oh.
Little John is. You mean like John Wayne?
Yeah. That guy.
Yeah. Um.
No? Okay.
No.
Oh,
Oh, the
well,
yeah.
no.
That one.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, Stone, what's another idea that you have that you think could change the world, maybe for the better?
And this is something that could be applied all over the world.
Okay.
And some countries are already doing it way better than others. And because of that, it annoys me so much that we aren't doing it here. And that is recycling efficiently.
Ooh, bro, that was my next one, so this is cool. We can tackle this together.
Recycling in
Yes.
America is the most frustrating thing because if you really dig into recycling, I think it's like 90% of what's recycled doesn't actually end up
Yeah.
getting recycled.
Right.
And a lot of times what we do, because we're Americans, and we get all that recycling trash, we put it on a big old boat, and we ship it to another country. Most of the time China, because we're like, oh, they can recycle it. And they're like, yeah, we can recycle that for you.
Yeah.
And then they're like, nah. And they take that garbage and plop it in a third world country or somewhere else in China that they don't care about. And then there's just garbage fields burning 24/7.
Yeah, man.
And
I've been to some garbage fields. It's not a pretty sight, man.
it's not fun.
It's not. I mean, not only does it just smell terrible, but
It smells like garbage.
it smells like garbage. It's on fire. Literally, like
Yeah,
it hasn't gone
burning.
out in 20 years. And the time I went, the week before, a pile had shifted and collapsed on two ladies and their children, killed them.
What were they doing out
They
there?
were trying to
Digging for stuff?
find stuff to trade in for like money,
Dang.
like cans, aluminum. Yeah. So it's definitely. I mean, yeah, recycling,
Yeah.
dude.
And you know what that's doing? That is not helping the zero carbon emission thingamabob because there's a big old diesel boat crossing the ocean.
Yeah.
Spitting out carbon exhaust fumes. And then it gets to the other country.
And it's
They're
on
using
fire,
machines to
you
process
know?
it.
Right.
And then it's on fire, which is going up in the atmosphere anyways. So that's why some people say, I may have or may allegedly say this. I'm not going to confirm or deny that I believe this.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to burn your trash here because it's better than it burning in another country and going through all those other processes before it burns. So in a way, you're actually helping neutralize more carbon than there. It's like what is it? I don't know. 4 plus -2.
Right.
You're still gonna end up with 2 plus carbon, but it's not as much as 4.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Does that make any sense?
No, you lost me. But here's another thing that I think along those lines is like just reducing waste in general. I think plays a lot into that. With like, I mean, obviously that's the first part of the reduce reuse,
Reuse,
recycle.
recycle.
But like reducing our waste, and a lot of that can be done through composting. Like there's so many things that we use on a daily basis we toss in the garbage can that can compost. Um, if you don't know what that is, go online. Like there's plenty of lists that walk you through like, hey, you can do this with your eggshells and you can do this, and some do better in like a tumbling composter you can put in the backyard. Some do well on your tabletop compost bin. But that's a good way to, it's going to eliminate, gosh, we stopped going through like trash bags as often as we did when we started composting because we're, you know, I would say at least by half. Like we cut our trash consumption. I used to not be able to fit all the bags in the can every week, and now it's to a point where like most weeks I don't even have to run it out there. Like we're literally composting as much as we can, recycling as much as we can. Um, but talk a little bit about the recycling, and there's only there's different kinds of plastics that can be recycled, right?
My thing is we need to get rid of plastic altogether or as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
And the hero of the recycling movement has always been the
You,
hero for a long time, and that's glass, baby. Glass,
Jesus.
baby,
Oh,
glass.
I wasn't sure where you were going with
Jesus,
this.
glass.
Um,
Holy glass. That's a lot
that's
of
our new product
glass.
line.
Holy glass.
Holy glass.
Yeah, and then it's like two
Yeet.
bulbous glass bubbles together, so it like, you know,
Hey,
looks like a holy glass.
holy glass.
No, so like in Germany specifically, right? They have such a great system in the grocery store just because everything is almost entirely in glass, and there's like it's like 7 cents, right, upcharge of what the product is, but you can take back those bottles and those
Mm-hmm.
crates that it comes in and
Yep.
get money back. So there's like an infinite beer loop, quote unquote, in Germany where it's like you buy 2 cases of beer and then you can buy another case of beer once you return all your bottles with the money you get from returning your bottles in your crate.
Right. That makes
Um,
sense.
and so so that's one thing. Like bottle exchange used to be a big thing
Yeah,
in
I
America
remember when I was a
before
kid.
freaking plastic came on the scene. Or like even in like some Central American countries.
Right. That too.
uh, like that's a big thing. Like, does Mexico not isn't Latin America? I'll say Latin America. It's a bigger
Yeah.
thing. I went to Chiapas one time, which is the southernmost state of Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right on
I
the
was drinking
Guatemalan
out of
border.
Fanta bottles that you could tell had been in the system for a long
Yeah.
time. Like they're kind of rough on the outside, but they're still perfectly good.
Yeah.
And you don't have any microplastics leaching into your whatever you're drinking. It can last a lot longer. That's why canning is such a big thing. Like I've eaten canned food that was canned in like the 70s,
Yeah.
and it's still good because my grandma would like can a crap ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
so like glass is awesome because there's no negative side effects for using it. Even canning,
Unless you break it and slice your finger off.
yeah, well, and then you're just dumb.
Yeah.
Um,
That's,
but like canning, right? Canned food lasts a long time, but eventually the metals start to leach into the food, which
mm,
isn't necessarily bad, but it's going to make the food taste bad.
right.
And also, recycling cans, there's a much more invasive process for recycling cans because a lot of times they're just melted down and turned into something else,
Right.
which is a cool thing about metal. Like aluminum is almost infinitely recyclable.
Right.
I think nylon is one of the only plastics that's like almost infinitely recyclable. Um, but yeah, glass. We need to get rid of plastic bottles. Introduce the recycling elements of that. That's why I stopped buying
Yeah.
Snapple.
Right.
Is when they switched from glass bottles.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that's dumb though is like in some states there's no programs for glass recycling. Like you'll
Really.
see on like soda cans and whatnot, like you can get certain cents amounts for recycling, but you have to take it to another state. Like it's
Hmm.
like you can only do it in these states, which is
Right.
kind of dumb.
That's
Like you
dumb.
think if we can pack pigs up on a tractor trailer and send it across the country, you could pack a reefer full of not that kind of reefer.
I was wondering where you were going with this.
No,
So,
reefers are a type of a tractor trailer.
right.
A big old truck with the box on the back, and you load that thing up with tin cans and you send her off and make your money's worth.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, glass would be great. Whole Foods is already ahead of that. You know, they're kind of coming on. There's a lot of companies. The milk is in, glass
Oberweis.
bottles, and even in Zambia, I mean, shelf stable milk is a thing. You know, you have like the cartons.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, there's very little plastic in the grocery store. Um, so I mean, I feel like other countries are definitely kind of paving the way. Why are Americans so stubborn when it comes to recycling, or just thinking? Do you think it's because it's turned into more of a political issue, or it was at least when it
Um,
was same as like
well,
global warming,
we
right?
just don't do it good. Well, like even Japan, they are notorious for having like plastic wrapping everything. So I don't know what their recycling situation's like.
Yeah.
Because when I watch videos of people like shopping in Japan, it's like open this plastic bag, and then these two things are in plastic bags, and then you can eat them, or
Right.
whatever. It's like,
Right.
but the thing is, Japan has a culture of picking up after themselves. Like, there's not trash cans anywhere in Japan. Like,
Yeah.
you carry around trash bags with you to put your trash in, and then you take it home. So they
Wow.
have a much more rigorous uh, waste collection
Okay.
kind of system because it's
Yeah.
sort of built into the culture. Americans just don't give a crap. They freaking goes back to pet peeves, throwing ciggy butts out the
Right.
window.
Yeah. Just toss it. Yeah.
uh, I don't know. It's weird. It just basically the shift started happening. I'm pretty sure in the '60s
Okay.
because it was in the late '50s and '60s, industry was starting to switch gears because after World War II, we started sending more production overseas
Hmm.
and things like that. And petroleum products was the new big thing because we figured out how to make plastic,
Right.
and so it kind of just killed um, the recycling industry because I don't. It's got to be for money, you know.
Of course.
It had to be,
Everything. Everything.
in the short term, it is more profitable for companies to probably use plastic.
Hmm.
Um, but in the long run, what's the cost? You know,
Right. Yeah. What are we? Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you have mountains of trash, and like you said, half of the things
they
that we
turn them into
recycle.
parks around here.
Yeah. Honestly,
You ever been to Trash Mountain?
I don't know, but I have heard of it.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
view.
Yeah.
Seagulls hang out there a lot.
Is it in Virginia? Is that?
No, it's
No, it's
like
here.
off of Falls of the Neuse to Durant area.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
so that's a nice area.
yeah, it's a big old trash mountain that they buried underground. They buried the whole thing in dirt because
Really?
the idea was like it'll eventually turn into oil, and
Did it?
it's still happening.
Wow.
But there's seagulls like chilling out everywhere there.
Wow.
I knew a guy who proposed up there.
On Trash Mountain.
Yeah, on Trash Mountain.
That's so sweet. How could you say no? Took me to Trash Mountain.
I mean, it's pretty.
I mean, think about like even like, I mean, you're Save the Sea Turtles people, right? Like, I mean, a lot of birds, a lot of turtles, a lot of fish. They get killed from trash in the ocean. A lot of plastic. Your little aluminum can ties. I mean, I think it just comes down to being a better human being and just making more conscious choices. Like, most of us live on autopilot anyway, so it's like we just accept whatever's handed to us by the people who make the decisions, and there's no real conscious effort on our part to do anything to make it better or different. And especially in America, it's very like individualist culture as opposed to like communal culture where countries and people groups are working together to for the flourishing of.
Which is weird because that's how our country interacts with other people.
Right. Exactly.
you know,
Like we want to be part of, the
everything, have our
solution.
fingers in
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
bring freedom to
Everyone.
areas and make
Yeah.
it worse in the
But
long
are
run.
we really free of
See,
what matters? You know? Maybe yes, totalitarian rule, dictatorship. Sure.
well, I don't think it's totalitarian to be isolationist.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm
You
not.
know,
I'm not
like
comparing that. I
that's
just
one of my things that lump it in with nuclear and recycling is getting our fingers
in
out of
everything.
everybody else's business and
I agree.
refortifying our country, whether that's, you know, protecting specific areas
Right. Uh huh.
or
I like
you
the.
know, using all that money to reinvest into bettering the states and like all that jazz.
Yeah.
Um, and then you know get into because it's we can still trade with people we want to trade with,
Right.
but having our grill in everybody's business ain't fun
It
because
ain't
it
working.
weakens us. We're
Yeah.
thinned out.
Yeah. And who likes us really globally? There's very few people that would say.
Yeah, they normally don't like us until they come over here and experience it. You know, that's what
Well,
I
the
see.
lifestyle, because you can live like a king. We live better than some of the biggest, richest kings in history.
Big Mac cheeseburger Whopper, double Big Mac
Yeah.
cheeseburger Whopper.
I mean, think
Living
about
like
like
kings.
King Solomon, right? Richest dude, or one of the
Solly man.
richer guys,
Yeah.
at least in biblical history. And I mean, the average American probably lives a better lifestyle than he did, which is crazy to think about. We're
Nah.
distracted. No, I think so, man.
No
I
way.
think so, bro. Think about it.
Homeboy had like 1,000 concubines, Jack.
Yeah, but is that really living? You know,
Depends on who you are.
he died angry and alone and bitter
That's true.
and a mess. But I mean, I'm just saying, for example, like we live better than the majority of the world as it is, at any point throughout history. Um, but are we any better for it? Are we any happier for it? So I've been thinking about clothing, right?
Clothing?
Clothing. Should we wear it? Does it really make us better? No. That's not where I'm going with this.
Moral of the story:
Yeah.
get naked.
Naked with an E, which I guess naked has an E too. Either way, two E's. Naked.
Naked.
No, but on clothing, yeah, I just want to consider the possibility that we could do better at our selection of materials, eliminating sweatshops and places all over the world that are kind of using slave labor to uh, allow us to buy $5 t-shirts at Walmart or Target or whatever,
Yeah.
Um,
That's why I feel like the isolationist type mentality could reset, our whole economy and ecosystem and stuff. Because, I mean, yeah, things are going to be expensive, but that's what we got church folk for, all right?
right,
They'll
right.
fill in the gaps.
That's right.
And then, because, before, like I said, during like the 50s,
Yeah.
we didn't really trade a ton with
Right.
other countries and everything. Not like we do now.
Right.
And, made in America type mentality. And
Yeah.
that would sort of, at least we could say morally as a nation, like, hey, we're going to stop
Right.
putting up with it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is a larger take. The clothing industry is just one part of it, but it's really about just like slave labor in general. We talked about that a little bit with like batteries for electric cars and our clothing that we wear. Like, I mean, there's more slaves in the world now than at any point in history. It's like the number keeps going
It's
up,
true. And
and
most of them are sex slaves
yeah, which
in
is
the human
terrible.
trafficking ring.
I can't even
Sucks.
imagine. Like as a father, dude, like it's terrifying to think about some of the stories involved in that. But I just think there is this website. Oh, gosh, I can't think of the name of it. Maybe you can find it, but it's It's like trace your slavery footprint or something,
Oh,
or
really?
track your slavery footprint. And so you answer like it's like a questionnaire. You answer like a certain number of questions, and it tells you like on a daily basis what your slavery footprint is. Basically, like the coffee you had. Well, was it harvested at a fair wage? And like the chocolate you ate, was it a
Did it have
kid
any
being
traces of slaves in it?
right? Did it? Yeah, did it? That's terrible. But really, like, were kids climbing trees? Forced to climb trees that adults couldn't get up to harvest. Like the situation is like this all over the world. But
Matt, don't you understand? The children yearn for the mines. We need to get them back in the mines.
yeah, okay, yeah, it's working out really well. Um,
That's a joke, but
but the with clothing, especially, like you have people that are working weeks at a time for like $1 a week, a couple bucks a week. Which I mean, think about how much money have you spent today? Just ballpark.
I spent money on gas. I spent about $25 on gas. I spent
Yeah.
about $200 on a new cool fridge.
Yeah, I spent a couple $100 today. So just think like, how long would it take someone in a sweatshop in another country making $2 a week, maybe, to come up with that to afford it? And it's like, we don't think about it because it's out of sight, it's out of mind. We don't think about the purchases. If it's on sale, if it's cheap, we're gonna grab it. $5, like I get it totally. Think about the materials that our clothing is made with. Polyester, right? Will never.
That's the iPhone mineral mines.
Wow, bro. That's terrible, man.
If you wanna, I'll find it. Yeah, keep going. I'll say that in a second.
No, that's terrible. Yeah, no, I was just saying like polyester, for example, is like a major ingredient in most of our clothing. Spandex, some of these materials don't break down organically. They never will. They'll sit in a landfill forever and ever and ever. And then that just kind of goes back into our last talk about trash and like waste. And so I think just by being more conscious of what we partake in, what we purchase, um, and being more mindful that like there's a lot of people that don't have any freedom that are actually allowing us to buy things for a couple bucks, or um, it's just kind of it's sad, but we don't think about it a lot because why would we? We're in Disneyland, all the time. This is distraction central.
Yeah.
And, we don't think about it. So, just be more conscious. Be awake. I think just wake up. I feel like all of us just live asleep.
Wake
We
up.
just-
Yeah.
What are you looking up right now?
I'm trying to find that guy that old Joe Rogie had on his podcast.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name. I think it starts with S. I could be way off. So look, I just pulled up how many slaves work for you. Slaveryfootprint.org. Okay.
Hit me.
So should we take a survey or do you want to do the what?
The what?
The what? Just pick a product, pick a country you want to know about. Let's just do the survey and see. All right. So. Dun, dun, dun. Have you found him yet?
I'm still looking.
Oi. Well, this is not working. So that may not work. We'll try the what. We'll try the what now. Let's just think. Let's do clothing since we're on clothing. You want to do shorts, skirts, swimsuits, underwear, jeans, t-shirts. Just pick something. Button up, bras.
T-shirts.
All right, t-shirts. All right. 448,004 t-shirts were shared by consumers globally, yada yada, in the U.S. All right. So, in the U.S. alone, there are 351,000 plus homes that have T-shirts that were produced by slaves. 351,000 homes. Um,
Homes?
Homes, households. Yeah. Now, it doesn't have like how many shirts per home or anything.
Oh.
Um, so that's just one example. But just anyway, this is cool. To go kind of go on and see. Um, slaveryfootprint.org. I won't take up too much more time on it, but it just kind of gives you an
Go
idea.
poke around, see where your reality lies.
Take the survey and kind of see like what you use on a daily basis, what you consume, and then it'll give you like a guesstimate. Obviously, you can't know for sure. Just like how you're contributing to the problem. Did you find them?
Yes. Episode 1914. Siddharth Kara.
Yeah, that's right. I thought it was something.
Go listen to that one. He is a author and expert on modern day slavery, human trafficking, and child labor.
And he's talking about the mines in Congo.
Yeah, the cobalt mines in the Congo.
Yeah,
go check that
cobalt
one out.
with like kids on your back and terrible conditions. Yeah, man. So I just think we can do a better job. We have to do a better job if we want the world. As a father, that's what I think about.
And like they say, the change starts with you.
Only you
can prevent forest fires. Only you can prevent wildfires.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Smokey.
So.
You ever see the Smokey the Bear at the fair? That's like ginormous and has a terrible voice actor.
Yeah, I ran into him not too long ago, actually.
Smokey the Bear?
Mm-hmm.
What was he doing?
Just walking around scaring kids. That's basically it.
Smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. He's tossed a lit cigarette into a pile of
He's
trees,
like, don't do this, kids.
Yeah.
Boing.
Yeah. Basically.
That's the crackling sound.
Yeah.
As the fire burns.
Just like fire.
I'm so good at sound effects.
Wow.
All right, what did we learn today, Matt?
We learned
I'm kind of bummed
out. I'm really bummed too. I brought the heavy stuff. Well, we learned that nuclear energy. Get with it.
Get nuking.
We learned about recycling and how important glass bottles are going to be to the future. We just talked about clothing and slavery enterprises of the world and how there's like 49 million slaves in the world. We can do better. Be conscious consumers.
Food.
And then we talked about what was my take? I forgot my first one. Oh, like about hunger. Hunger and poverty in other countries, but also here in America, we can do a better job.
America.
Find solutions to the actual problem, not just the symptoms of the problem.
Isolation. Isolate.
Think more communally. Think more about the future that we're providing for our children. And just be a better human. Be kind to someone today.
And burn your own plastic.
Right. I did that one time, bro. It did not smell good. I did it a few times, actually.
Most people who burn plastic don't know how to burn plastic.
I would be in that category.
There's a proper way to burn plastic, and there is a definitely wrong way to burn plastic.
I did it the wrong way, I can tell you.
The proper way, if you want to know,
I do want to know,
to burn plastic, is you first need to build a fire that's a rip snorter. You know what a rip snorter is?
Oh, yeah.
Just something ripping hot, flaming. And you want this fire to be extremely hot because the hotter a fire is, the more efficient it burns.
Right, of course.
Therefore, there should be barely any smoke when you're burning, right?
Right.
You get this thing blazing hot, and then you just slowly start throwing your trash in there so it can burn up. Because the fire is going to be so hot, it consumes it so quickly that there's not as much stuff released into the atmosphere. I don't know if this is true. This is just how I understand it, okay?
You know a lot.
But moral of the story, right? At least all those other steps of carbon emitting things are completely eliminated.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
And which goes back to
Just be
You
the-
can make the
yeah.
change.
You be the change you want to see in the world.
I'm stuck with that.
Just be kind.
man
Just wake
in
up from your slumber.
I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, and look at yourself and then make that change. Blanky out.
Blanky out.